Batman the Detective issue 6, Tom Taylor writing with Andy Kubert and Sandra Hope on the art. So this has been a while since issue 5, a little bit of a delay.
Yeah.
And I will say for me, like, it's funny that obviously Tom Taylor's usually the book that I'm looking forward to the most, but this has been my least favorite Tom Taylor book that I've read.
Me too.
Honestly,
Well, it's because it was the last issue.
yeah, it was the last issue, so I felt like, okay, I'll just have to read it because it's the
Might
last
as well
one.
get it over and done with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like it's not actually that bad. It's not get over and done with, but more in the context of there were 10 books this week, 6 or 7 of them annual sized.
Yeah.
And and pretty much all of them
regular-
were more interesting than this final issue
Yeah.
of this.
On a regular week, this would have been fine. But the fact that I read this and it kind of just amounts to nothing, I was just like, oh man, what a ending of a wet fart.
Honestly, the arc as a whole feels a little bit throwaway to me by the end. I didn't really get much out of it in terms, like, almost everything else Taylor's written like hits like emotional beats or does, like, you know, even like, you know, when you look at Deceased, not even as a whole, even just that mini he did, like, right, which was like 3 issues, like that hit so many high notes that it felt so worthwhile even without the rest of Deceased. Whereas this, I get to the end of it and go, oh, it's kind of just a throwaway miniseries that most people are going to forget.
Yeah.
And also, at the end, it's Batman learning that lesson of, oh, we should help people, which is the second or third book this week with that message that,
yeah,
I'm like,
but
yes, Batman should know this already.
right, and that's my whole thing here too, is like the whole, I wish they had introduced the Squire stuff earlier, because I felt like Taylor jammed that in at the end, you know, because I love the dynamic between Squire and Batman while Night's gone, and that made for a lot of fun interactions. But here, when you find out about her mom, I was just like, well, this is just kind of a wasted plot point now.
Yeah, well, no, explain what that is, Matt. Where's her mom?
Oh, so I thought you wanted to go in order, but
well, I mean, this one I don't feel like we're going to talk about as much. Well,
so in the in Equilibrium's origin, right? There was that attack with
there's the villain. Just because I forgot her name was Equilibrium until they said it. Until they said it 5 times, I forgot who they were. I was like, "Who's Equilibrium?" Oh, it's the white Batman chick.
I just remember Equilibrium just because that sounds like an organization and not a villain.
Yes.
Right. And so the villain, her origin is tied up in the smuggling operation that went wrong. Well, it turns out that Squire's mother was one of the smugglers and ran back in to save the other person.
Well, which we saw. Like this was a flashback to a scene that we got back in like issue 2 or something like that.
Right. And she got put away for life, and that's why the Knight had taken the Squire. And like that would have been nice, but it's just kind of thrown in at the end. And like again, I like it in principle. The execution though was, you know, I didn't need more Batman busting up Equilibrium members.
Yeah, I think the part of the problem for me is that like it introduces that Squire's the daughter of this woman we saw in this flashback back in like issue 2. But it then uses that to try and be kind of the emotional beat at the very end when she's like, oh, she's reunited with her daughter. It's like Bruce got her out of prison and like she's reunited with her daughter finally. And I kind of felt like, you introduced this so late on, and I don't think that Squire has been like focused on enough to make her like parenthood like the core of this.
And it feels like Bruce is just pulling strings as a favor rather than actually caring about releasing this potentially wrongly convicted woman.
There is one thing I like. So the whole plot is that Equilibrium's going to like, you know, destroy all London.
Attack.
So they're all going to London to have this big face off, right? The one thing I kind of liked is that Bruce actually stops Descartes from killing Equilibrium, and I kind of like that it's argued to her that, well, Batman just saved you, and your whole thing is you kill who Batman. And I love that she does just try and kill herself. Like she just puts the gun up to her chin, and obviously they stop her, right? But
I like that Batman stops it, and I was like, wait, what? And then they're even like, yeah, you shattered some bones in your hand, didn't you?
Well, yeah, because
he's like, maybe.
Well, we have to explain how he did it before you to explain that. So
puts his hand over the top.
Yeah,
of the gun.
so the gun's up to her chin, and he just goes in with his hand like that, and like just blocks it with his hand. And I'm like, I know you've got good gloves, but like, how tactically strong are these gloves? Because that was a bullet point blank.
Stop the bullet, but the impact's still shattering some bones there.
Yeah, well,
which is fair.
It could even theoretically shatter her jaw, right? Because the kick's enough.
Up, yeah.
But I did like it. I think it's Ducard, or it might be Knight. It's like you broke some hand. Bones in the hand.
You shattered your hand into a lot of pieces, though.
Yeah.
It was the one sequence in the whole issue that felt kind of inspired. Like there was a good idea here, whereas the rest of it just kind of felt like by the numbers to me.
Yeah.
I didn't really get much, and I've not been a fan of the art, and it ends very quickly because, like, actually, so the page, about the shatter on the hand right after the gunshot, it's the very next page is the final page of the book, which is like the mum getting out of prison and hugging Squire. So it's very rapid and sudden.
It felt like it needed another issue, or more. The 6 issues needed to repaste elsewhere.
Yeah.
But for here at the end, it needed more time.
Yeah, and there was definitely stuff in the other issues that I felt was superfluous, so I think it probably just needed to be rethought and
just edit it down a bit.
Yeah, just paste around.
Some extra stuff added here. Yeah.
Which is a shame. And we've been kind of lukewarm on this book since quite early on, I'd say, by and large. So this is not a surprise. It's weird to be so blasé on a Taylor book, but I mean, it doesn't feel that bad in the sense that like he was firing on all cylinders like with another issue this very week, and he's got multiple things going right now that are all great.
It's not like this is a bad book. Like, it's perfectly readable and fine. Like if you pick up the trade of this on sale or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, it's a Tom Taylor Batman book.
However, if someone
asked, this is a fine read.
Yeah, but if someone asked me for Tom Taylor recommendations, this is down far on everything of his that I've read.
Yeah, this is.
It's not on the list. It's not a recommendation. It's a if you want to, for completion's sake, read everything he's done. Then it's not a bad read. But
do you like the idea of Henry Ducard? All right, you might like this.
Yeah, if someone asked me, oh, shall I pick this up? I've got spare budget. I'm picking up trades this week. This is out. Shall I pick it up? Like, sure, why not? You're not going to hate it.
You'll probably be disappointed. You'll be disappointed, though. I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed by the standards of a Tom Taylor book. But if you kind of go in, it's like, it's a perfectly fine Batman.
Well, yeah, but that's the point, though, is that you go into it, it's a Tom Taylor Batman book. He's definitely got a better Batman in him than this, and then one day I'm assuming we're going to get it.
No, I agree with that. But I'm saying, if someone just asked me, oh, shall I just, it's a Batman mini, I'm kind of interested. Shall I read it?
You know
sure.
what? I give him credit for doing something that's outside of Gotham with Ducard and Knight and Squire, and regardless, this was a disappointment, and I was just like, man, all right, cool. I'm glad this is over.
Yeah, I'm just not a big network of Batmen. Like, I mean, I'm fine with having a network of Bat family members, but like, I just don't like the idea of.
Yeah, I like the Club of Heroes used sparingly. Like, that's the thing with Ink, was it gave them so much focus.
But it's been so long now since we've had that I'm kind of looking forward to it. Also, as for being disappointed, I think I was disappointed in the first issue, but I kind of, once we'd had that issue and saw what this book was, I kind of recalibrated my expectations a pretty hefty amount. That I'm no longer disappointed by this final issue.
No, if anything, I'm more disappointed. Fine, I'm more disappointed now than I think I have been the whole thing, because now it's like it never got better. So now it's sunk in that it's just this.
I'm with Pete on this one. I was just like, oh, okay, this was a book.
I think I'd lowered my expectations enough to being like, this is just what this book's going to be.
Well,
and I'm okay with it.
I think that's the problem. Tom Taylor too much.
Yeah, but I don't want to lower my expectations. If I have to lower my expectations with a Tom Taylor book, then it's disappointing.
Yes.
Yes, it was disappointing at issue 1, and then I lowered my expectations. Like, forget this is a Tom Taylor book. Just it's a random Batman mini that's coming out. On those bars, it's fine.
Yeah, but it's just fine. It's not even like it's not like we're saying it's not up to Taylor standards, but it's still pretty good. I wouldn't say it's pretty good. I'd say it's like passable. You know, I
think the phrase I used was it's enjoyable enough. I stand by that.
I don't know if I'd go that far. It's ultimately where I think I'm sitting at. You know, like, I mean, at least me and Matt have been pretty vocal and not been super hot in the art in this book the whole time. So
the one thing I do like is the big Jack dude who has the family in London. I do like the way he's drawn just because he's so grotesque, but that doesn't match the rest of the art in the book because everyone is kind of.
I really like that panel of Batman with the drones behind him and the cape flowing. I think that panel is great.
Yeah. Basically, Chloe's whole thing. She's bought a lot of drones from the U.S. military that she's going to use to bomb the shit out of London. But then Batman reprograms them because he's got Oracle who can reprogram things.
Also, on that page, you see Dick there with Babs, and he looks like a really old man.
He looks horrible. Yeah, he looks.
I think that's more the coloring than anything else. It looks like he's like got grey hair.
He looks like for some reason like it was like, wait, is this meant to be set in the future? Because all of a sudden Dick looks like he's from like Kingdom Come or something like that. What's going on?
He's got the Reed Richards hair going on.
He does. And it's funny, I said that on the same page. That is that panel that I think is the best moment of this book or this issue. You know, is on that same page. Also,
not to be totally negative, I do like that Knight's castle is set up like a bat cave with trophies from her exploits as Knight and Squire.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. It was a nice little moment. Thought the art looked good there too. I think Hubert sometimes just everyone's Bane, and it's tough, you know.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what are you giving Batman Detective issue 6?
It's a 5.
I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a Matt and go with a 5 on this one.